As promised, Michael Langston here on Wake Up Warchant. Might also be a breakout video on YouTube, so hit the thumbs up. Michael likes that. Busy weekend, Michael. I guess first off, before we get to the nuts and bolts of everything that's going on for Florida State for the 2023 season, Destin Hill showing up, man. How cool was that for you professionally to finally see that come to fruition?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care who you are. I don't care you do this for media. Like, I mean, you know what the kid's gone through, and to get to this moment, be 2 years away, and then finally just seeing the emotion of him with Greedy and David Johnson. I mean, if you're not welling up, I don't care if you're a media member or not. I mean, that's a special moment, and he looked phenomenal. He looked great when I saw him, and I think he's ready to get to work. And so I think it was just a great moment. So one of the most memorable moments I can say in recruiting that I've had in a while. Just seeing that moment, and obviously we never thought it would get here, and then I call it Sam Spiegelman Day because that's what it was. It was justification for Sam, who broke the news, and but it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Not a great experience losing out on Jalen Key. That was a bit of a
Yeah.
bummer, but again, it's Alabama. I don't know if you want to maybe touch on anything with his recruitment, but where does Florida State now go at safety? Corey and I mentioned the JUCO safety that was on campus here this past weekend. It feels, I don't know, the reporting maybe I'm reading too much into it. Michael feels like maybe by the time this makes air, he might be a Florida State Seminole, but where does Florida State go right now at safety after Jalen Key commits to Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot into the Jalen Key recruitment, and it was close. It was back and forth. We'd heard one day, the day before, that it was going to be FSU, and then as he thought more about it, as I told people on the PRB, I think it was more about the system they run is more simplified than kind of some of the stuff FSU runs a little more complex. But that was kind of the reasoning I heard with Jalen. I think it was really close, but yeah, I think they certainly are active with the kid that visited this weekend and out of Iowa Western JUCO. He's actually from Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, Ashland Barker's from Georgia.
Ashton
Oh,
Barker.
all right.
That's the kid that visited over the weekend. I felt like everything went really good. I was actually thinking he might pop on the visit, but I think it will happen. I think he will be in he will end up eventually a Seminole. I think everything points to that I've gotten. Obviously, I'll check again on it, but I think everything looks good. There seems to be a connection. He feels really good there. 6'3", probably 205, something like that. And I think even with him, I think they still want a portal guy because they need safeties. They didn't just one. So I think even if they get him, I could see them going out in the portal. Um, right now, I'm still figuring out the names. The kid from Louisiana, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name.
Cam Pettis
Can't.
Clue.
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
it. I'll do it.
That
Cam Pettis
that's a
Clue.
yeah, that's a kid that I think could be a possibility. I don't think they've really pushed yet. I think they're kind of figuring out who their next line of major targets are. So I think they're still figuring it out and dissecting things. But I think there's like probably 7 to 8 guys that they're looking at, just checking in, seeing if this fit was there and going from there. But I think certainly I think they still want a guy from the portal if possible. If it doesn't work out, then oh well. But I think Barker definitely. I think they covet him, so I think that's a guy they want unless something happens with several portal guys that are safeties that maybe they like a little better. But as of right now, I think it would be Barker would be in this class.
Any concerns, Michael? Corey and I did a little quick research on it. Apparently, I think his senior year kind of got cut short due to COVID, and this last year he was at Iowa Western. He redshirted, so he's almost like Destin, I guess, in a certain regard. He hasn't
Right.
played football in a while. Is there any concern there, or has the tape kind of checked out and the staff feels good about it?
I think the tape checked out. They went to see him in the spring evaluations probably a couple weeks ago. They went to see him. Adam Fuller went to see him. Several of the coaches went to see him. They fell in love with this kid. They were already liking him, what they saw from his time at Columbus, and the reason he went to JUCO was to generate more interest than what he was getting out of high school. So I think he's a guy they like a lot, and certainly they fell in love with. Got him on an official visit. Bam got him over here, and everything I've heard throughout the visit from FSU contacts is, man, Mike Norvell and this staff really like this kid and they want him, so they're pushing pretty badly as far as adding him in this class. So I don't get the impression they're that worried about, despite him redshirting or he hasn't played in a few years.
All right. Big fish that's still out there between, I guess, Florida State and another SEC program, Michael, would be Keon Coleman.
Right.
It seemed like it was really, it was really hot. Everything was running really good. Then things kind of cooled off. I don't know if that's because Jalen Key had announced that he was going to make a decision this past weekend, so everybody was focused on that. I don't know if we have a timetable or not, or any updates kind of on Keon Coleman. But does he remain a target here for Florida State, and a legitimate one at that?
Absolutely. Definitely a main target, and definitely a guy that they're communicating daily with. Um, the news that was developing with him was I think something is likely to happen next week or this
Okay.
upcoming week
Okay.
for a decision. He was thinking about taking a visit to Texas A&M, as I pointed out to people on our PRB, and Louisville was another team that was in consideration. There was other schools trying to get involved, but I think those two teams are the teams that I think he visited. It's like, you know what? I'm good with these two. Let's not complicate things and get more teams and complex and make it more complex. So I think he felt good. And I will say this, like, I'm not going to go into detail about how I feel, but I will say that FSU's visit was the best. And um, I think there's a very legit shot at Keon Coleman. I'm not going to go into too much. I'll
Give
dive
us a
into
little
it
more. Give us
later.
a little more, Mike. Give us a little more. A little sample.
I'll dive into it later when it's decision time, but I think there's a very real shot for FSU to land Keon Coleman. I know anytime you go against the SEC, people get nervous, but I think in this one, I think they've done a phenomenal job of the things that Keon wants is one, he wants to be in the explosive offense. He wants to be in an offense that is a team that's really going to be good, like has the potential to be really good. And if you look at everything that he's looking for from a top tier veteran quarterback to an offense to FSU being a preseason top 10 to having all these pieces, and then also seeing guys like Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Jordan Travis, Jaheim Bell around him, I think that's very enticing to him because it's kind of saying, well, he could be the missing piece, and I think that's very attractive to him. So I think there's a very real shot with FSU and Keon Coleman. So that's the name. Definitely don't forget. I mean, because he's certainly one. Zakier Franklin's another one that they're involved with, but I think they're solely locked in on Keon. I mean, the fact that they haven't set up anything is even more intriguing as far as another visit because they could easily set something up with Franklin. I'm told that he would be interested in certainly taking a visit, but they're definitely focused on Coleman. They want him, and he would be a massive, massive, big addition for that offense. That would make that offense go from really good to kind of scary when you think about the matchups that they would have with all the different positions.
Yeah, the only thing I was worrying about when you talked about explosive offense, I'm like, well, I mean, Lane does as good of a job as Mike. I'm not going to say better or worse because it's a Florida State podcast. I don't want to get people upset. But Ole Miss, their passing offense, I was like, well, they do seem to throw the ball a heck of a lot more than Florida State does. Florida State seems much more balanced. But their passing offense is not it's 58th last year. They had the 58th ranked offense, or I'm sorry, passing offense last year. Ole Miss, Florida State, meanwhile, 28th. So that exists here. I mean, I know there's so many playmakers here at Tallahassee. I hope that doesn't scare them away. But the fact of the matter is, they just get everybody involved. It'd be crazy to think of him picking Ole Miss over Florida State if you're looking at explosive offenses and most likely to succeed, because that all seems to be here. But then obviously the NIL component becomes something that's real.
Yeah,
that,
I
we
think
can't.
it just circles. I just circle back for him. I just circle back to he. I mean, the reason he's leaving Michigan State, he could put up good numbers at Michigan State. Like he's really good. Like I saw him when he played against Michigan. He lit them up 2 years ago in East Lansing, just tore them up. And that was a really good Michigan team that played for, in a playoff
Yeah.
later. So I think that for me, the quarterback is a big essential thing in this recruitment. I don't know what Ole Miss's plans at quarterback is or what they have,
Spencer
but I think
Sanders, Jackson
yeah,
Dart, they got
yeah.
it's
So
up in
it's
the air.
up in the air about who's going to be, but I think with FSU, you have a Heisman candidate in Jordan Travis. You have an offense that's going to take pressure off you, so you're not going to have to do everything. If say Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is kind of looking for playmakers, they want multiple receivers. They don't have a lot. So I think at FSU they do, but I think that's enticing to him when you have the type of like where the team's going from an upward swing for FSU compared to Ole Miss, where they're pretty good, but it wasn't like the way people view FSU's offense, and so and team. So I think those are certainly some enticing factors. I'll keep on it as I always will, but I definitely think there is a very real shot for FSU and Keon Coleman.
So much going on in terms of 2024, 2025 class prospects. Check out the PRB for that. But let's touch on this one before we let you go, Michael. Kylan Fox, tight end out of Grayson High School out there in Loganville. 4-star consensus tight end, 6'4" and a half, 217 pounds. What do you think he took away from his visit here in Tallahassee this past weekend?
Yeah, I think it was really good. I think it was more about him just being around the coaches again, building relationships, just getting stronger, and also just being some around the players to kind of experience just what they're like, because that's something he didn't really see as much of. Just he knows. I mean, you could listen to when Kylan talks about this offense, he knows what they're going to do with the tight end. He knows Jaheim Bell really well, so he knows Jaheim, the type of talent Jaheim is, and then his good friend Landon Thomas is coming as well. He's already committed to FSU, so that certainly bodes and helps FSU comfort wise. And I think I came in that visit where I was like, would I be surprised if he popped? No, but I was leaning more towards like, yeah, probably he's going to take official visits because it seemed to be something he wanted to do. And so, FSU gets the last official visit, and that's always major, no matter what. And when you get the last official visit, he didn't tell us a date for the commitment, but then later, probably 30 minutes to an hour, he contacted. I think Chad Simmons talked to him and said his commitment will be on July 4th. So he's going to announce a commitment on July 4th. That's a week after, right after FSU's official visit with him. So that ain't bad. That's so I think their chances are really good. I like where they sit. I think they're the favorite. I think he's probably the top target after Landon. I think Landon was certainly the number one, and I think Kylan's also another one. There's other players that they like, obviously. Amir Jackson, he's another 4-star tight end, but I think Kylan's been the guy that they focus a lot on. Right now, I'd say that's kind of the guy that's most likely that you see in this Noles 2024 class.
You would have known about most of all of this if you were a member of Warchant.com and checked out the premium recruiting board. So that's a plug to go ahead and do that.
Here you go.
Big takeaway here, though, as Michael said, Keon Coleman decision likely to happen this week. We're recording on Sunday, so sometimes we get our dates messed up. But this coming week, we should have a finality on that. Michael, we appreciate your time as always. What should they do on the way out?
Oh, always hit the like button, guys. Stay tuned. Late in the week, I'm going to do a 10 to watch. I'm going to work on a new one for you guys. So we will have that. There's going to be more visitors. I'd say a sprinkle of visitors probably on the weekend. I'll get into that later in the week. And so we got a few things coming up, but definitely hit that like button on your way out, guys.
Boom. Michael, appreciate you, man.